What is going on, everybody? I'm Justin, joined with Nick.
Hey.
And in today's podcast, we will be talking about Stardom Stidham, and football's finally here. It's good to say that. Yesterday, the Pats defeated the Steelers 28-21. It didn't look like Ben would finish with a lot of points, but he had that garbage time touchdown to Antonio Brown at the end to boost him up. Antonio Brown had a good game. But what about Tom Brady? A guy who was fighting suspension, comes back, has a great game.
Yeah, he was very on point. He tossed 3 touchdowns to Gronk, 1 to Scott Chandler. He had a very good game. He didn't throw too many incompletions. And another guy who also had a great game was D'Angelo Williams. If you started him for this week, like I did, he was very rewarding. He got 14 points.
I think he's a good flex play, maybe until Le'Veon Bell comes back and as a handcuff. Yeah. But moving on to Stardom Stidham, want to start things off with the quarterback position?
The quarterback I like for this week, I think, is going to be Tony Romo. I like Romo this week going up against the Giants in Dallas Sunday night. I think that game's going to be a shootout. I expect a big game from Romo. He's going to look for Dez Bryant and Jason Witten. I expect it to be high scoring.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of my star quarterbacks this week, I like both quarterbacks in this game between Philly and Atlanta. I like Sam Bradford in the system, and I like Matt Ryan. I think this game is going to be a shootout. I think both these guys will be top 10 this week in fantasy points out of quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a shootout. Julio Jones, Jordan Matthews. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on Monday Night Football. Both these guys are great plays this week.
I agree. Somebody I don't like this week is Nick Foles. He's going up against Seattle, 1 o'clock in St. Louis. But the thing I don't like about him is the Rams have a depleted offensive line, no running back, and Seattle's going to get the pressure on Foles. He's not going to have much time to throw.
A guy I'm not too high on this week is Phillip Rivers. He's a guy you're going to really play the matchups with. He's not an every week starter. But what I want to see is how they get that run game going with Melvin Gordon. I want to see how they use Keenan Allen this season. He struggled last season. Antonio Gates is suspended, and he's going up against a really tough Detroit line. And I just don't know. If you have a better option, I would go with the better option and see how he plays.
Yeah.
After the first week.
I agree. One running back that I like is Lamar Miller going up against Washington, 1 o'clock in Washington. Washington's defense doesn't really have an identity right now, and I expect the Dolphins, once they take a lead, they're going to feed the ball to Lamar Miller, and he's going to get a lot of garbage time points.
Yeah, I agree with Lamar Miller. I really do. A guy I like coming in as an RB2 possibly. I feel like he's going to come in and get a lot of those touches. But one of the star guys I like for running backs is Jeremy Hill. You probably aren't. This is a guy you're not really going to bench. But I think this is a guy that could possibly go into top 5 running backs this week going up against Oakland. They're definitely not the best team. Defensively wise, I think he's going to have a big game and show you why you spent such a high pick on him. But if you want a guy later on, I definitely think Jonathan Stewart could have a good week against Jacksonville.
One running back I don't like this week is Melvin Gordon going up against Detroit at 4 o'clock in San Diego. Detroit is a very tough line and a tough defense in general, even though they lost Dominic Sue to the Dolphins. But Phillip Rivers confirmed that the Chargers will use running back by committee, so Melvin Gordon won't get as many touches as a starter would, and he's going to lose third down passing work to Danny Woodhead.
2 guys I don't like this week that are kind of in the same position as Melvin Gordon, Tevin Coleman of the Atlanta Falcons and Joseph Randolph for the Dallas Cowboys. Not so much that I don't like them as a player and have value later on in the season, but these are guys battling for that position, fighting for that number 1 running back spot on those teams. I've been watching a lot of preseason. Darren McFadden's been having a great preseason for Dallas, so they got him, they got Christian Michael, they got Lance Dunbar. I really want to see how this plays out for the Dallas Cowboys and for the Atlanta Falcons.
Another guy I wouldn't be looking at playing too much is Trey Mason. Even though Gurley isn't going to be, the Rams are waiting till he's fully healthy. He has a tough matchup in Seattle, and it's not always that. He has looming hamstring injuries, so I think Benny Cunningham is the guy to play. If anything, if you're in desperate need of a running back over Trey Mason, even though I wouldn't trust any
of them going up against Seattle. Moving on to the wide receivers, another guy I like in that Monday night game is Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews, I think, could finish as a top 10 wide receiver this year. I've been watching a lot of preseason, like I said. Sam Bradford. That's really, he's been targeting a whole lot. Zach Ertz is most likely out week 1. And I feel like he could have a great season going up against Atlanta Monday Night Football. This is his chance to shine. I know that Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones will come out, score a lot of points, and put a lot of points on that board. I think Eagles are going to have to come back and use Jordan Matthews a lot. I think he's bound to have a great game this week.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think Jordan Matthews has potential to finish top 10 this year and probably move up to wide receiver 1 towards the end of the season. A guy I like this week is coming off his strong rookie campaign, John Brown. He's going up against New Orleans in Arizona at 4 o'clock. I expect that game to be a shootout, and I expect Palmer to use Fitzgerald and John Brown a lot in that game.
I agree with John Brown. I think he's a good guy you're going to get late in your draft who has a lot of potential. Another receiver I like this week is Davante Adams. Davante Adams is a guy last year who showed some promise, but the chemistry just wasn't quite there. This year he's going to have to step up. You know that they're not going to give him much time, so if he doesn't perform, they got James Jones. But James Jones, I think he's going to come in for the 3 position. Jordy Nelson, I think Davante Adams has big shoes to fill. They still have Randall Cobb. I know that, but Davante Adams is the guy I really expect to pick up a lot of Jordy Nelson's production, and he's going up against Chicago, big division rival. I think this is another game that's going to be a lot of passing. I also like Eddie Royal in this game if Alshon Jeffrey's out.
I agree. I definitely agree with Eddie Royal, especially since the Bears like to use 2 receivers and Kevin White went down.
Yeah, and they also have chemistry from Denver.
I agree. Another receiver I like this year is Jarvis Landry. He had a great rookie season last year, tons of points in PPR because of all of his catches. And like I said with Lamar Miller, he's going up against a depleted Arizona defense. Washington defense.
Now, I don't like this week is Brandon Marshall, a guy going into the system. He had a great year for the Chicago Bears. He's an elite receiver, but going to the Jets with inconsistent quarterback play, I just don't know if I could trust that play. And he has a tough matchup going up against the Cleveland Browns defense.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't touch either Jet receivers in any of my leagues like I did when they were on the Bears or the Broncos. I just don't think with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Geno Smith under center, whoever's there, they'll be able to get as much points as they did with Manning and those guys. One receiver I think isn't going to have a very good game this week is Sammy Watkins going up against Andrew Luck. He's going to be shadowed by Vontae Davis. Like the Jets, fails of inconsistent quarterback play. But don't get me wrong, Sammy Watkins does have explosive play ability. I just don't think he's going to be able to show it with Tyrod Taylor on the center and being shadowed by Vontae Davis.
I agree with you 100%. A guy who really didn't have as great of a year as Beckham, Evans, just because of the quarterback play really wasn't there. Moving on to starting tight ends. You want to start things off?
One tight end I like this. I'm going to go with the same theme I did with running back and wide receivers. Is Jordan Cameron. I feel the Dolphins, like Landry, are going to use him a lot. Tannehill's going to target him a lot. He's going to be more towards a safety blanket, kind of like Jarvis Landry is. He, again, going up against the depleted Washington defense, and I think Tannehill is also going to have a big game.
A guy I like this week is Delanie Walker. Delanie Walker is a guy who showed promise last year. He was a solid tight end. And once you don't draft Gronk or you wait till those later rounds, this is a guy who is probably going to be starting as tight end 1 because once you get past Gronk, there's no more elite tight ends other than maybe Jimmy Graham. But Delanie Walker is a guy coming in who last year showed some promise. And new quarterback, Marcus Mariota, he's going to go to his safety blanket, his tight end. I think going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who another rookie quarterback on the opposite side, I definitely think he's going to go to his safety blanket starting off his rookie career.
I agree. Moving on to the sit tight ends, one guy I don't like this week, even though I feel this game's going to be a shootout, is Zach Ertz. If he does play, he's going to be limited, I heard, and I don't like him. I think they're going to try to use Brent Selleck. He's a better pass blocker, and Chip Kelly's not using Zach Ertz as much because of pass blocking and protecting Sam Bradford.
And tight end I don't like this week is Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is a guy who I just don't know if I trust anybody in that offense between Colin Kaepernick, between that offensive line. I just don't know if I trust the Niners as a team right now. They lost so many pieces. Monday Night Football, going up against Minnesota, I think this is Teddy Bridgewater's chance to shine. I think that I don't think it's going to be that high of a scoring game, and just Vernon Davis didn't have the touchdowns last year.
I agree. I definitely agree. One defense I like this week is Miami. With the addition of Dominic Sue, I expect them to get a lot of sacks on Kirk Cousins and that Washington team that's really searching for their identity. With Cameron Wake, Oliver Vernon, and I expect the secondary to be able to get a few interceptions off Cousins, and I like them overall.
Yeah, of course we like the top defenses, but we're throwing some sleeper defenses at you that you could go pick up off the waiver wire. The defense I like that if you're not happy with your defense, go out and try to get Kansas City if they're available. Going up against a struggling Houston offense. Arian Foster's out for 2 to 3 weeks. I just think it's going to be too inconsistent, and I don't know if I could trust them. I would go out and grab Kansas City defense if you can. And you want to say anything else?
No, that's about all.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Leave a comment with any questions. Tweet us at FF in the Zone. Subscribe for more.
Thanks.